If you have ever looked at an SMM panel and thought the prices looked too good to be true, you were right. And today I am going to show you why. This is the corner of the marketing world where more people get quietly scammed than almost anywhere else because the whole thing is built on layers of resellers selling the same stock to each other. So before you spend a cent, I want you to understand how this market actually works and how to spot the panels that are designed to take your money and vanish. Let me be clear about the angle, because this is not a how to get rich video. An SMM panel is a storefront that sells social media services, and a lot of what passes through this market is low quality, risky, or outright fake. My job here is not to sell you on buying anything. It is to explain the machine so you do not get fleeced by it, and so you understand the real risk to whatever account you point this stuff at. Treat this as a warning with a map, not a shopping guide. Here is the plan. First, what an SMM panel really is and the reseller pyramid underneath it. Then the difference between services that look real and the obvious junk. Then the scam patterns, the red flags that tell you a panel is going to burn you, and how to check a panel safely if you ever do. So what is an SMM panel? On the surface, it is a website with a price list, so much for 1,000 of this, so much for 1,000 of that, and a wallet you top up. But here is the thing almost nobody starting out realizes. The panel you are looking at almost certainly did not produce any of those services. It bought them from a bigger panel above it, which may have bought them from a bigger one still. You are usually 3 or 4 middlemen deep before you reach whoever actually fulfills the order. And here is the part that really explains the whole industry. Almost none of these panels are even custom built. There is a small set of off-the-shelf panel scripts, the same software everybody runs, and you can buy one and have a working storefront up in an afternoon. So most panels are the identical website with a different logo on top. When you open a new panel, and it feels eerily familiar, the layout, the dashboard, the way you add funds, that is because it is literally the same script as 1,000 others. The only thing that changes is whose AP key it is wired into. That wiring is the trick. These panel scripts have a setting where you paste in the AP key of a provider above you, and from that moment, every service on your shiny new panel is just a pass-through to theirs. You set your own price, the script forwards the order upstream, pockets your margin, and sends the rest along. That is what people mean by a child panel. It is a child wired to a parent, and that parent is very often a child of someone else. That is exactly why you can search one service and find it listed word for word, the same description and the same icon on hundreds of panels at once. They are all pointing at the same handful of sources. That is the reseller pyramid, and it explains almost everything weird about this market. At the very top sit a small number of main providers who actually generate the service. Below them sit resellers who buy in bulk and mark it up. Below them sit resellers of those resellers, and so on down to the panel you found. Each layer adds a margin and adds a person who cannot actually fix your order. They can only pass your complaint up the chain. So when something goes wrong, and it will, the panel you paid often genuinely cannot help you because they do not control the thing they sold. They are a checkout page sitting in front of someone else's API, and that someone else has no idea you exist. Now this matters for spotting scams because it sets a floor on price. The main provider at the top has a real cost to deliver, real infrastructure, real overhead. So every honest reseller below them has to charge more than that, not less. When you see a panel selling the same service for a fraction of what everyone above it must be paying, that is not a great deal. That is a mathematical impossibility, which means one of two things. Either the service is fake and you will get nothing, or it is the cheapest possible junk that evaporates in days. A price far below the floor is the single clearest scam signal there is. Let me make that floor concrete, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Say the real source charges some baseline to deliver 1,000 of something, Every layer above adds its cut, so by the time it reaches you, the honest price is higher than the source, never lower. So when one panel is priced at half of what the source itself must pay to produce the thing, there is no clever sourcing behind it. Nobody found a secret discount on real engagement. They either fill it with empty bot accounts that cost them almost nothing, or they take the order, deliver nothing, and bank that you will not bother chasing a small amount. The suspiciously round bottom price is the bait. Let us talk about what you are actually buying when it is not fake, because quality varies wildly. These panels list whole menus of categories: followers, likes, views, comments, saves, shares, watch time, the lot, broken down by platform. And within a single category, there will be a dozen versions of the same thing at different prices, which is the part that confuses everyone. One line says high quality, one says real looking, one says cheap, and they all promise the same headline number. The number is not what you are buying. The way it is delivered is. At the better end, there are services designed to look natural and stick around, the kind that arrive at a believable pace, rather than all at once, and that do not all vanish the next morning. The listing will usually talk about retention, how long it is meant to stay, and offer a refill window if some of it drops off. At the worst end, there is obvious bot junk. Numbers that arrive instantly in one ugly spike and then drop off a cliff within 48 hours because the platform wipes them, which can leave the target account looking worse than before. The gap between those two is enormous, and the price often does not tell you which one you are getting. That uncertainty is exactly what scammers hide in. And here is why the menus all look the same from panel to panel. Because everyone is wired into the same handful of upstream providers. The exact same services show up everywhere with the same service number, the same description, the same little quirks in the wording. So when you are comparing two panels and the listings are word for word identical, you are not comparing two products. You are looking at the same upstream service sold through two different checkout pages at two different markups. The honest reseller charges a sensible margin over what the source charges them. The scam reseller charges less than the source possibly can, because the scam reseller never intends to actually pay the source at all. So learn to read two words on the listing, because they separate the honest sellers from the rest. The first is drip feed versus instant. A drip feed service trickles the order in over hours or days so it looks like it grew naturally. An instant one dumps the whole lot at once, which is the fastest way to look fake. The second is refill or guarantee. An honest service that knows its stock actually sticks will happily promise to top up anything that drops within 30 days because it rarely has to pay out. A scam will not promise a refill because it knows for a fact that everything is going to disappear and it does not intend to be around when it does. The refill policy is the single most honest line on the whole page. So here are the red flags, the patterns that tell you a panel is built to take your money. First, as we said, prices that sit below what the top of the pyramid could possibly charge. Second, no refill and no guarantee for exactly the reason we just covered. Third, fake reviews, a wall of glowing 5-star testimonials that all appeared in the same week from accounts with no history. Fourth, payment that pushes you toward methods with no recourse and no protection, with pressure to pay fast before some fake deadline. Fifth, a panel that has no real provider behind it, no proper IP, no track record, a domain registered last month with a flashy template. And sixth, the classic, a panel that takes your top up and then goes dark, support tickets unanswered, the seller gone. If after all that you still decide to use one, here is how to not get hurt. Step by step. Start with the smallest possible order the panel allows, the absolute minimum, never the maximum. Never top up a large balance with a panel you have not tested, because that balance is not your money anymore the second it lands in their wallet. It is gone if they vanish. Keep the preloaded amount to something you would not mind losing entirely. Then watch the results over a full month, not the first hour, because the scam services look perfect on day 1 and collapse by day 3. Set a reminder and actually check on it. Then test the promise that matters most. Let some of the order drop, which it will, and see whether the refill they advertised actually happens when you request it. A panel that quietly ignores a refill request has told you everything. Before any of that, take the panel's name and search it together with words like scam or review or complaint and read what comes up, especially the angry posts on the forums where these things get resold. Look at how old the domain is and keep your spend small and recoverable the whole way until a panel has earned your trust over many orders and a long stretch of time, not over one lucky delivery. I also want to be straight about the risk to the account you are pointing this at because people forget this part entirely. The platforms are not passive here. They actively detect and remove fake engagement. They run sweeps that wipe bot accounts in waves, and they increasingly flag the receiving account, not just the fake followers. So pushing obvious junk at an account can get that account limited, shadow restricted, or in a bad case actioned outright. The worst case is not that you wasted a small amount on the panel. It is that you damaged the very thing you were trying to grow. And a real account with real history is worth far more than whatever the panel charged. That is why I treat this whole category as buyer beware, and why the smart move for most people is to be very skeptical that the cheap end offers anything worth the risk at all. So the honest bottom line, the SMM panel market is a pyramid of resellers running the same off-the-shelf script and reselling each other's API keys. The price has a floor set by the real provider at the top, and anything far below that floor is fake or junk. The scams cluster at the cheap end. They hide behind no refill policies and fake reviews, and the only protection you have is your own caution, small test orders, and patience. Nobody in this chain is looking out for you, so you have to. If you want a running breakdown of the panel hierarchy, the red flag checklist, and the patterns I keep seeing, I keep it all updated at blackhatreview.org/category/social signals. I am not selling you a panel, and I am not getting a cut of one. The only thing I am pushing is that you go in with your eyes open. Then stop. I am testing captcha solvers, 2 captcha versus cap solver, and the rest the services that automation actually runs on. If that is useful, subscribe. There is one tested, honest review here every weekday. I will see you in the next one.